So 70% of
what we got in here?
What's in the cup, brother?
I'm either hella hood or hella proper.
Well, thanks to you guys, my parents will soon find out that I, was homeless for a while because they did not know.
Hey, we're a little trial and error. We're working.
Oh yeah, I'll get back.
I want to be the Jackie Robinson of NASCAR. Whatever that meant 10 years ago, I had no idea what that was.
Yo, five friends dropping gems, sports culture, entertainment from a broader lens. It's where it all begins, and we'll be talking that on or off the track. The whole crew ready, it's time to drop the jack.
What's good, family? This is Drop the Jack. I am Jordan Page. I'm with my boy Rail Boogie, Darrell Edwards, Paul Swan, Michael Hicks, Mamba Smith, and we have a very special, talented guest with us today. Born in the Boogie Down Bronx, he is a world-renowned visual abstract artist and entrepreneur, activist for equality. He has partnered with BMW, Mercedes, AMG, NFL, NBA, and Adidas. Starring in the television show Artfully Design, he has also created artwork for icons such as Rick Ross, Swiss Beats, Celine Dion, Pharrell Williams, Miley Cyrus, just to name a few. And he is the first black visual artist in history to have designed an art car for NASCAR. He is Frankie Zombie.
Come on. Yeah. Hey, what a list right there.
Welcome, my guy.
Listen, guys, thanks for having me, but you made me forget that was me for a second. I'm like, what's all this stuff he's naming?
Here it is.
Thank you guys for having me.
So let's just start there. When you hear that, how's that make you feel? Because you obviously don't think about all the stuff you're doing, but when you take a second and break it down, you're like, oh, wow.
Yeah, it makes me feel blessed, brother, because a lot of times I live either in the moment or as an artist, a lot of times also you want to focus on what your next idea is. So I completely forget sometimes all of these different things. But, it just lets me know that people are paying attention for the right reasons.
For sure.
And I really appreciate that.
For sure. So these boys, we all have natural talent and ability. Whether it was Darrell down there playing basketball, Paul and Jordan, they were on the gridiron doing football. Hicks, I'm not sure his talent is other than being a great dad. No.
I'm still trying to figure it out.
No doubt.
But
He's a pitsman.
Yeah,
He's an absolute
yeah.
pitsman.
Professional pitsman.
Yep.
So when it comes to your ability with art and being able to visualize and see those things, like where did that come from? How are you able to harness that and put it into the stuff we see now?
Oh, man. I've been a daydreamer since I was a child. I started out, I always tell people, when they ask me, when did I start painting? As a child, I started mentally painting, but I didn't start physically painting until maybe about 25, 26 years old. I was a loner growing up as a kid, growing up in the Bronx. And so a lot of times I just look out the window. We lived in the hood, so you couldn't go outside past a certain time, So I just stare out the window for hours and just daydream about so many different things. And that's really where that creativity started.
So question for you, do you still daydream?
All the time, man. All the time. Sometimes my managers have to keep me from doing it so I can get a task done. It's like, in that moment, it's the typical artist thing. Like you make your team nervous and anxious and they biting fingernails, and at the last minute, you just show up 4 a.m. and you get it done. But yeah, I still daydream to this day. It's essentially, again, it's where daydreaming has gotten me to where I am today. And a lot of times I feel like black and brown kids that look like me, they just see television or social media and they just daydream about certain things, right? And they don't ever really know that can actually become a concrete thing. So I wouldn't get rid of that daydreaming ever. Yeah.
I read that you started sketching or visualizing from your cartoons that you used to watch when you was little. And I also read that Basquiat did the same thing. He started drawing cartoon characters that he liked. Yeah, so I thought that was a crazy comparison, how both of y'all started with, the cartoon characters.
Yeah, well, which is wild because, I'd been a fan of his work before I knew who he was in the 80s. I have the portrait tattoo and everything. For me, I started mentally sketching in my mind. So I would take different people that lived in my neighborhood as a child and mentally put them into my different, cartoon scenes. And so when I grew up, fast forward to 25, 26, physically painting, I just started realizing, I don't have a passion to draw characters. I'll just be the actual character of the future that's going to use my favorite palettes and artwork.
Superpower.
Yeah.
I want to take it one step backwards, which is your grandmother, Liz, right? Let's talk about that. I know she was in the jazz a bunch. And does that have any impact on your artistic like ways or just how you envision things? Like, does she play a big role for you?
Yeah, my grandmother Liz, grew up calling her Grandma Liz. She was like the most Harlem Renaissance type person you would meet, like open-toed sandals and silk shirts. She always used to try to give me these hand-me-downs. I'm like, Grandma, I'm like 5. I don't want silk shirts. But yeah, man. So anytime I would go to her house, I couldn't immediately just watch cartoons and eat junk food and stuff like that. You know, she'd give me a mental list of things to go get her from the corner store in the morning, come back, read the paper, play jazz records, and ask me what different things I loved about the records. And, you know, that just stuck with me my whole life. And then I realized, fast forward a whole bunch of years, when I was living in LA, when I first started doing one of my signature styles that most people know me for today, her raising me in that jazz element created that style that I now help so many other people through.
What do you mean by that? Like how? Yeah, what? Because that's music.
Yeah,
so I'm trying to figure out how I can picture
like,
music in a style of art. Like, what do you mean
I
by
can
that?
see sounds in a way, like, and again that comes from daydreaming. You know, if it's a deep bass sound, I think of full circles. Right? If it's like a thin sound, I think of thin lines and, you know, different waves that, you know, surround those thin lines. And so a lot of times I would just listen to the music and let it take me away in an abstract sense. And
Is that what you do when you're doing art? Do you have music in, or are you just making it quiet? Because I saw something where you talked about like most people would approach basketball court murals as hard. You took it as a challenge of like, nah, this is my space. I'm here. This is a big place where I can do whatever I want.
yeah.
So do you listen to music when you're doing a big piece like that?
First of all, you guys do your homework.
Hey, the boys are live.
I was like, how do you know that? I was like, how you know that? But yeah, brother, so music is the core to everything I do within art. And to the moment of not being afraid to tackle big canvases, that's because I love to be uncomfortable. I started to realize the more I'm too prepared, I get overly nervous and anxious about nothing. And I have to realize people are supporting me, not just financially, but like communities and other areas of the country morally support me. So what is there to be afraid of? You know, just start the project. Yeah. If you don't like it, redo it.
Yeah.
Period.
And make it fun.
Yeah. Exactly.
You talk about fun. One of the most fun guys in the entire garage is this guy over here, Paul Swan. Yeah. I feel like, as you can look at his face, you can't even die.
I like to have a good time, brother.
I just feel like Frankie's style, like the art, I feel like it does represent you a little bit as a person.
Yeah,
it's vibrant.
What I noticed, I looked at his Instagram and everything, and you know, did some homework on him, and seeing your vibe and your style. It's bright, vibrant, a lot of stuff going on with it. And just from listening to you right now, it seems like visualization is something huge with you, and you really visualize stuff before you're going to attack it, before you're going to paint it, before you're going to sketch it, and all that stuff. Is visualization something that's super big with you? And like, you visualize something and then you see the canvas, and then it kind of changes as you're going, or do you kind of stick to it the whole time?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, great question, bro. So I'm more of like a 70-30, where 70% of it is visualization. So 70% of
what we got in here?
What's in the cup, brother?
It was the sniggle that killed me. So 70% of it is visualization.
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 Say it with me. Say it with me, everyone.
Visualization is it. But no, the other 30% is just letting the canvas speak to me. The colors speak to me. Every canvas is a different size. There's different textures, different things around me, like crowds of people. Am I creating around animals or nature? I let the other 30% of that, you know, control what I do in a sense too. Yeah. So.
And where do you think that vibrant, energetic, kind of bright color? Where does all that come from?
That started from post LA, because I'd lived in LA producing music in the industry. And so I'd gone back home to South Carolina where my family is. And so shortly after that trip, we'd gotten the news that my mom was diagnosed with stage 4 breast cancer. And so as I'm literally sitting in the doctor's office as he's giving her the news, I quickly just wanted to go into like, you know how some artists where if they're going through something hard in life or heavy, they depict dark and gory colors and all of these things. I realized in that moment she needed my bright energy and love. I quickly, it didn't matter how petrified I was because I didn't want to show her that. I quickly grabbed her hand and I looked the doctor in the eye and said, okay, what do we do next? And I realized she started to calm down a little. I could feel that she has a grip. I could feel the grip loosening up on my hand as I started to just show her, hey, we are here for you. I'm here for you. And I said at that point, it didn't matter what I was going through in life ever again. I'm going to use bright colors to try to inspire other people.
Yeah, I love that, man.
Appreciate it.
What's one of the first pieces that you were like really proud of? Like, what was that first like? Man, I'm looking at this and like, I love this.
Ooh. I was living in LA at the time, and I was still full-time music producing, and so artwork was just my escape, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I was at the top of, there was a purple and black piece I created, and something about it like really just started to speak to me because it was a new style. I was trying so many things at the time, and this particular painting like meant so much to me because it was new and fresh. So I'm at the top of the Capitol building in LA with one of my great friends to this day, Stacey Barth, who's an amazing songwriter, writes for Rihanna, all kinds of people. And so she had I think a TV performance that she had to do on the top of the Capitol building on the roof. And so after her set, she actually allowed me to bring some paintings to just show in the background.
Right.
And so after this set, again, like LA, I'm dead broke, still trying to figure out this music industry. Probably $100 to my name, right? And so one of the camera guys, he comes over after her set and goes, man, I love that purple piece. How much for it? In my mind, I'm thinking I'm Mr. Bigwig trying to act like, you know, oh, I have millions and I'm not giving you this unless you have this price. And so he's offered me, I think like $200 or something, and I tell him no at first. So 30 minutes later, we're all downstairs, still in the Capitol building, and I'm going through my mind like, okay, I'm hungry.
Man, I could really use...
Rent is due, you know, transportation, the bus, all of these things, right? So I was like, hey, man, you still want that piece? And that was the first time I'd ever officially sold a painting.
That's awesome.
So is that how you decided to go full time? Like, was that the step that you needed?
Sort of, because at that time I still was heavy in the music industry, and so I'm just like being taken over at that time, mentally and emotionally, just paying too much attention to people in the industry like dangling $1 million checks over your head. So I wasn't really, again, looking at art as that. But one of the first moments I realized that art, a sold piece was my purpose, was when I'd moved back to South Carolina, and I'd ended up doing my first, I believe, show, group exhibition. And at first I was not going to do it. I'm like, this is South Carolina. I think I'm the only black guy in this exhibition lineup. These people are not going to understand me. I am from New York. My work is a little different. I thought it was going to be all horses and trees and stuff like that, you know, in the paintings. But
that boring stuff.
No,
That boring stuff.
Yeah.
Come on.
that's no shade to any
Come on.
Horses are boring.
I don't like horses.
I was trying to wonder why they looked at you like horses.
Everybody's looking at me like.
Okay.
You and your horses.
I was trying to keep
Myrtle
a straight
Beach.
face. I'm like,
Myrtle Beach. I like, Myrtle Beach is my spot.
Listen, okay. I've been in Myrtle Beach.
Frankie, so you mentioned being hungry, having $100 to your name. I saw something where you were homeless. You want to tap in on a little bit about that?
Yeah, man. After LA, I hit a heavy depression twice because, you know, you grow up so many years thinking that's going to work, the music industry. You're going to be on stage hitting Grammys and all these things, right? But it didn't work out, you know. And so for a period of time, all I had was my car. I moved back home. Family, they have to do their thing. So, you know, they already have a full house. I don't have any solid foundation, right? Friends, they have families, married with kids. So it's like, I don't want to burden anyone with what I'm dealing with. So I would legit just drive around, do my jobs in different, you know, cities, and I would park my car in different parking lots. And thanks to you guys, my parents will soon find out, that I, was homeless for a while because they did not know.
Well, what made you not share that at that point in time?
I am.
When like our parents are everything, you know what I mean?
I'm a deep feeler, right? And I can always feel when people are going through things. So I never want to be a burden on anyone. Not so much pride, it's just I know your cup is full, so I'm not bringing my stuff to you, you know? And that was more of, what it was about. So I would sleep, different parking lots, Planet Fitness parking lot. Sometimes I park in front of my parents' crib nonstop, and they would just think I'm on business calls and stuff. At times I see my pops walking across the grass and coming to chat with me for a minute, and I like pop up real quick, wipe my eyes, act like I'm on the phone, like real story. I would pop up and act like I'm on a call and give me one.
Yeah, well, I had a big important call.
Yeah, and then that happened for a couple years, and then from homelessness, I actually started to enjoy being an artist nomad. So it was almost like that part of the journey made me comfortable about not having a home for a while.
And it just says a lot about you though, because you still, despite that depression moment, you still tend to go with the vibrant look, the vibrant colors, the energy. It just says a lot about who you are.
It's a part of your
that's
story.
Super cool.
Appreciate it.
And you just won't let any situation drag you down. And that's super cool, man. It says a lot about who you are for sure.
I appreciate it, man.
So I gotta ask, you've got all these projects, paintings, and all this stuff. What is your most favorite thing to do? Is it auto? Is it
Hicks to get us right back
Yeah,
into the
yeah,
fun
like-
stuff. Hicks to
These
pull us
guys
right
like
back
it.
up.
These guys kept asking questions I couldn't ask.
He's
I
like,
want to
"All
know.
right, enough of the tears. Let's get to the
I want
fun
to know the most favorite project.
One of my most favorite, I would be cheesy and say my next project is always the most favorite, but today I'd say cars, because my personal vehicle was the first car I'd ever done, right? And I was inspired by going to Miami doing Art Basel, art festival, and just seeing guys and women just pull up to these lavish hotels and stuff and just paint a car on the spot and then drive off. I was like, that's a Ferrari. What are you doing? You can do that?
Yeah, that's a
And then
$250,000 car.
Right,
Yeah.
and so I painted the hood of my vehicle first, and I'm sort of stubborn when people tell me I can't or shouldn't do something, right? So, exactly.
I'm the same. It's like, I'm going to prove you wrong.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
felt that when he said that. I'm like, yeah.
So I did the hood first, and then someone I knew at the time, once I expressed to them that I wanted to paint the entire car, they looked at me and said, straight to my face, "Don't do it. Like, that's too childish. You too old for that." I was like, "Oh, okay. All right, you must
That's
not
your
know."
opinion. Okay.
That same day, I drove down the street from my home at the time and painted the entire car. I posted it maybe 2 days later, and my social handles went ridiculous.
So that kind of got you, boom, through the roof.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And in that vehicle lane, because a lot of people feel like you're depreciating a car if you paint it. So I go through those moments where the car collectors are like, "Oh my God, what are you doing?" But there's supporters and collectors out there that know I bring value to it.
You know, one thing that Frankie does a lot, like not only the art, but the fashion aspect to your life. And I was just sitting here thinking, because I got this picture behind me of Jordan. Juice, you're into fashion, like you might need to get him in on some stuff.
I'm definitely complimenting his style. His style, you could tell it has that artistic type of presence to it. But me, I'm just more like, New York, 90s, 80s vibe. But
No doubt.
His style is definitely vibrant for sure.
But listen, let me tell you about the first time I met this man. Great, and he
Oh,
probably
we like
doesn't
to
remember.
about
He
Mamba.
probably doesn't remember, but
No,
I
I
think
definitely
it
remember.
was Miami.
It was Homestead, Miami.
A Homestead.
2 years ago.
So we're on stage and he's interviewing me, and the first thing he does is try to roast the pants I'm wearing.
I remember you from the pants. When I saw that picture, I said, "Oh, I know him." He's literally from the pants,
They
bro.
were like wool. They were like a wool.
Like knit.
We're in Miami.
knit, yeah.
And I'm sweating
It was hot.
bullets. It was hot as hell.
I remember him
And I'm
from that.
like, it wasn't like a roast, but I had to mention. I had to say something about him. I'm like, I know you're hot.
He's like, "Hey, nice to meet you. What are you wearing?"
I was literally like, I need to know about these.
Tell me about
pants.
those.
Right.
What are
I'll
those?
never. But his style at the track was obviously something that isn't around very much. So that was just like the beginning, and then we were able to go into this whole conversation about artwork and all the fashion and stuff. So like
Sometimes you gotta sacrifice comfort for style.
he did it.
okay?
He taught me that. That's why I do that.
I was a little warm, I was a little warm that day.
you're probably sweating.
That whole
bullets, but
weekend, actually.
Don't
yeah.
show it, and you're fine. you know?
Exactly.
Yeah,
They was like, yeah, he's an artist. I said, yep, he is.
Yeah, I can tell by those
Yep,
pants.
he is. He is
But see,
that.
the thing with the fashion was, taking it back to high school in South Carolina, I used to wear so many different weird things, like just trying to make up for the fact, we couldn't afford all of the crazy stuff. But we had a pretty good upbringing, though, And I'd like wear leather pants in 10th grade and all kinds of, funky stuff. And people would try to crack on me nonstop. But then I realized by 12th grade, y'all are all wearing the same thing that I was doing in 10th grade. So I'm like, I'm not listening to y'all anymore. I'm gonna do what I want to do. And I started to realize too, like it connected me to people. Like you said, one of the things you remembered was the pants.
That's a fact.
And so again, like it's a connector for me.
What are some of the cool collabs that you've been able to do in your journey?
With clothing or
just in general?
Yeah, like
just in
he said,
general.
you've done some cool stuff with some big name people.
Like
And
Pharrell. Tell us about like the Pharrell.
So with Pharrell, one of my most memorable.
I'm a Pharrell fan. I like his style. His
I have
fashion.
all his albums tattooed on me,
word,
like NERD, everything.
Wow.
And he
this is before you collabed with him?
Yeah. So I spoke his collaboration more of like interaction and me giving art to him, right? And I was living in Spartanburg, South Carolina, and at the time, again, I was broke a lot. So, not now, but God is blessing. But I was broke at that time. So I said I was going to go to Art Basel convention for the first time in my life. A lot of people were telling me I should go. I was like, you know what? I don't know how I'm gonna meet this man, but I'm gonna deliver some art shoes to him.
Speak it into existence.
And at the time he had a collaboration situation with Adidas, so I did some Stan Smiths, and I didn't have enough money for a travel bag, so I took clothes out just to be able to fit the box in there. So I was rotating 2 outfits the whole time. I had clean socks and drawers. All right, but I started carrying this bag around, and all of my friends there by day number 2 was like, "What's in the bag?" And I would say so proudly, "Oh, these are for Pharrell." And so it was funny because after a certain time, strangers would come up and say, well, what's in the bag? And all of my friends behind me would go, "Oh, those are for Pharrell." Right. And so shortly after that, day number 2, I'm walking into a convention center, and I saw his wife, and my friend goes, "I got one better for you." There's Pharrell right next to her, and like my heart just goes, This is the guy I like grew up like idolizing, fashion, philanthropy, everything. And so get up to him, meet him and all of that good stuff. And after that point, I didn't even want to talk to him about collaboration or anything. At that moment, I just wanted to practice believing in myself and speaking something into existence. Wow. And the fact that that happened in less than 48 hours, it took my confidence through the roof. So, that always sticks with me.
That's awesome.
That's crazy.
Manifesting, man. I like it. What about talk a little bit about the your show, the Artfully Design? Like, is that like, what exactly is that?
So Artfully Design is you've seen like different HGTV shows where interior designers would remodel and do a quick clean flip of a room or a home. So myself and my 2 great friends, Natalie and Rachel, we decided to do a show where it's not just your average room flip. We will like do the most unconventional things you ever thought of, like designing and doing murals on the staircase, the roof, the floor, anything that you've been connected to within your home that you want to, give a new energy or boost. We will like give you a new rebirth and reconnection to that. So that way the home feels like you when you walk in. Sometimes I feel like when we get a new home or used home or what have you, we want other people to like it.
Hey, if you need some people to come on the show, come on.
Come on to my house.
For sure.
I want that.
Is there one home that sticks out to you that you've done something in that, like, man, that one was special to us?
Honestly, I'd say all of them because they were different. There were different energies that I'd gotten from each family. At this particular episode, there was a husband and wife, and so we would keep asking them both questions to figure out what we wanted to do for them. And the husband, he was just too clean, too smooth. He would direct all the energy back to his wife. Oh, whatever my wife likes, whatever she likes.
Smart man.
I'm like,
Like Paul,
Sounds like
man.
Paul.
You guys done it. Oh, hey. Happy
But
wife,
hey,
happy life.
exactly.
Boys.
It's smart, you know. And so I was like, no, I'm gonna catch him. I'm gonna catch him. So I noticed he had like a football shrine, you know, little situation in the corner. So I started asking him about the football. Later on in one of the scenes, I told the producers, hey, look, I'm gonna make him go outside and draw up a play with his children. And then I'm gonna steal that play that he drew on the board and do a mural out of it.
I love
And when he came in the home and saw it, he just started to, you know, just express and just, you know, cry out of happiness and love for his family. And at that moment, like, I thank God so much because I was able to connect to this man through color. So
Are those moments where you say, like, this is what I do this for?
most certainly, bro. Man, I have people that email me, DM me, call me, say, you kept me from suicide today. Like, DMs.
drop the
and this
jack
is
on
like monthly, like,
We have a segment where we drop the jack on when somebody
When
says
something,
something
yeah,
like
something deep,
groundbreaking,
something big,
something
yeah.
deep, something
Okay.
crazy, we
I
drop
like
the
that.
jack. So you got mine for sure.
I like that,
With
brother.
that one.
Man.
So I did some homework and some digging too. You did something called the Bandit Room, and you made a statement where you said, I don't believe in Plan B. What does that mean?
Yeah, man, we coming in on this show, man.
Man, I don't believe in anything that will deter me from my main focus. Like, I can't. Why am I thinking of the backup? I had to look myself in the mirror and ask, like, is that because I don't believe A, what happened? Am I afraid of it? Or, you know, jumping off that ledge at every point in my life helped me get to this very day. I wouldn't be standing here with you guys today if I had a plan B. And, you know, I was telling you earlier, I've lived so many different lives in this one time because I've tried doing plans B through Z. And so A has gotten me here in the last 6-7 years. So I can imagine, you know, if I would have, by my teenage years understood what my calling was and my purpose through art and just started just hitting the ground running, you know, that way.
Yeah, sitting here listening to you talk, I think that's what I've learned to love about you most. It seems like you don't worry about yesterday. You focus forward, you follow your dreams, and you just, whatever happens, happens. You just chasing your dreams.
Yeah.
And that's, you know, a lot of people don't get to do that.
Yeah,
You
man.
believing in yourself too. Like that's very important. That's
An
powerful.
undeniable belief, man, because all the stuff you said, homeless, you know, being broke, all that stuff, you could have said, well, this art stuff, this ain't gonna cut it, this isn't for me, and you just put your head down and you grind and you dig and you make it work and you make it happen, and look at you now. It's a big testament to your character and the person you are, for sure.
Appreciate it.
And all
Because it's
that-
like,
Sorry.
it's like, I know what it feels like to be at this bottom level. So what is there to lose?
Right, you already been there.
You already been there.
I've been there, you know, finances or morally, emotionally broken, spiritually broken. I know what that feels like. So just keep hitting that ceiling and go forward.
Hicks, you got with your when you hear that, like, as a dad, because your kids are a little older, so like trying to get them in a mindset of that, or like going after their dreams. When you hear that, like, what does that trigger in you to how to relate that back to your kids?
You know, it just, like, you know, hearing all this, it's like you need to not give up on your dreams. No matter how low it gets and how bad it gets, always be positive. It's funny, you just asked me that. I was going to ask him, what would you tell somebody, a young person, 12 years old, that wants to chase your dreams?
That's funny because I was about to ask you the same question.
You know the energy's right when I do it.
I was about to ask the same question, bro. But with the right guidance, whether a parent or not, with the right guidance, you just give the youth a bit of freedom to understand and go through different ideas and feelings instead of just be a doctor, be a doctor, be a doctor. No, what are some different things you see happening for yourself in the next 10, maybe just 5 years or tomorrow, you know, and allow them to
listen to
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
And just guide them a little. It's like the bumpers at the bowling alley.
Oh, yeah.
Just have them up just in case, but allow them to bowl the ball, you know, and have that opportunity to really express. Because I know a lot of times, even for me growing up, like when I told my parents I wanted to produce or be a painter, they're like, remember college? I'm like, yeah, college is great, but this music thing, that's nice, but let me know when you enroll
Nice
to college.
pipe dream, but hey, this is
Make sure you're getting A's.
Right, exactly. But it's like, I understand it because for a lot of our parents, entertainment world or being an artist was always looked at as like being a struggling artist. No one's successful from this. So, put that to the side, let it be your hobby, and that's it. But, you know, still, I would love to ask you, brother, like as a father, if your child says they want to be an artist or a producer or something in the arts realm, like how do you support them while not just letting them just go off the rails and, you know?
I mean,
Dick says, no, you're going to be a racer.
no, yeah. Well, my oldest races, that's why
She's
he says
really
that.
good.
But
Okay.
I would say, you know, with the way I am with my kids, I would do whatever it took to back them 110%. If they wanted to be an artist, they wanted to make music, I would figure out a way to put them in the best situation to make that happen.
Right.
You know, it's just, that's what I believe in, right? Like, I'm never going to force my child to go, oh, you gotta do this and you gotta do that. Like, what do you want to do? You know, because maybe they can find their passion and follow their dreams, right? Because, you know, at 10, 12 years old, you don't know what you're gonna be in life. You don't know what you're doing yet, but it's in there.
Yeah.
I truly believe that. I truly believe that what you're meant to do is inside of you. And if you can just somewhat guide them to figuring that out and not being that parent that's going, I played football, you're playing football, and you ain't got no other way around it.
I have a similar story to that. My father, he wanted me to play basketball because he was a basketball player. So when he realized that I was more so into football, he was like, my son not gonna play basketball? I'm like, Pops, you put me in football first. That's what I do. That's what I'm good at. And then another thing was that you said, what was it? Something about how you found your way through the inspiration of other people and how you found your way through different canvases. I want to know what's your favorite canvas.
I know I mentioned cars earlier, but on a broader scale, I don't have just one. Because of the way I started my career, when I moved back from LA to South Carolina, I started taking the art career serious and realizing, once again, I have no money, dog. So we hungry. I started painting on anything that was in my parents' backyard shed, like everything, the doors, the old furniture, everything, lawnmowers, everything. Wow. So I started to realize,
the lawnmower, I'd like a lawnmower from you.
Let's do it, bro. I have understood how to almost apply paint to everything
I love
possible,
that.
you know, and so I started to understand at that point too, there's no such thing as just like a traditional canvas that just hangs on the wall. Why there's nothing against it at all. I just knew I could also reach more people through these different objects, pianos, you know, basketballs, so many different things that live in people's homes, that I'm going to reach all of you through things that you love.
Thinking outside the box, I love that.
That probably took you some time, like figuring out what to put, like plastic, paint on plastic, paint on cars, aluminum, steel.
A lot of trial and error, a lot of upset clients in the beginning. This rubbed off in a day.
We're going to try it. We're working.
Oh, yeah, I'll get back to you.
Yeah. It took some time, but all a part of the journey. Man.
So just like you, Zombie, I grew up in Baltimore in a similar situation in the hood and stuff like that. So I got a question. What does community mean to you?
First of all, I heard when you said Baltimore, that's when you know. They take the T off of it.
It's from Baltimore. My bad.
Well, no, it's community.
I almost want to bring up that I'm either hella hood or hella proper.
I didn't want to say it, but
I'm trying to find a way to be hella proper.
No, listen, be yourself, brother.
No doubt.
That's it.
I like the Baltimore personally.
I like Baltimore.
Do you do a lot of art in the community? Like, and if your art could speak to the community, what do you want it to say as well?
Yeah, well, first, without community, and this isn't some cliche, cleaned up thing I'm trying to say for you guys, community is the reason, again, I am standing here today. Some people can say, oh, my city didn't love me, or they hated on me. I can't say that. Spartanburg, South Carolina, like, really were the first ones to really invest in my artwork, even as the prices started to go up, you know. So from community events to your everyday clients, the city of Spartanburg, South Carolina, so many different people, you know, started to really
I'm
encourage
smiling,
me.
and I know you're looking at me like, why are you smiling? Well, I saw something else that also you said, man, I do this because I want to pull up to the middle school. I want to pull up to the high schools because you understand that seeing is believing for those kids that's in the community.
I don't want to just tell them, oh, you can do this too one day. And no, I'm going to pull up in something proper, you know, a dope car or something like that I know you can relate to with your eyes. Maybe not in person, but.
And they'll love that.
Yeah, exactly.
Get their attention. Meet them where they're at.
Right.
Yeah.
Right?
Especially in this day and age, I feel like it's so like, first, you know, time you see something that does it grab my attention? Does it get me interested? And if it doesn't, then, you know, kids are like, whatever.
Yeah,
Like,
I'll pull an art car up to a middle of a basketball court and have all the children come meet me outside at the school instead of in the classroom.
awesome.
And
Seeing is believing to those
Exactly.
kids, man. Like, you could say all you want, but just like having kids, it's like, you can say one thing, but you gotta show them. I mean, it's kind of going one ear out the other unless you're showing them, you know, exactly what you're doing. I kind of want to go back a little bit before we get towards the end and talk about the kids, everything you do. I kind of admire your dreaming aspect as well as the imagination aspect. It seems like as kids, we have imagination. You got kids that have made up friends, so on and so forth. And it seems to be that you still have that imagination. You haven't let society and the world take that from you, which creates you to be still a great artist as an adult. And that's what it sounds like Hicks was saying, as far instead of being that parent that's like, you're going to do this. Like, what I try to do with my son is keep dreaming, son. Keep imaginating. Like, I don't want to take that from you. Because society is every day trying to take that from our kids. And it sounds like as an adult, you're still imaginating, and I admire that, bro.
Yeah, appreciate it, man.
Yeah.
Like,
Kids are so innocent too. Like they don't know what's going around yet. Like they don't know how bad the world is.
yeah.
It's a good thing to see. You know how innocent these kids are. But yeah, what you do is with these kids, you know, bringing them in, bringing them out, getting them out of the classroom, and showing them this stuff. I mean, that probably means the world to them kids.
I appreciate it, man.
You guys got it rolling in the right direction with this conversation where I'm about to lead us the rest of the way. Frankie, we have this segment called Gloves Off. And then Gloves Off, as Darrell likes to put it, we get a little vulnerable as men and talk about some deeper meaning stuff. So when we first met, that was our whole conversation. When we met, we met up at a coffee shop down the street from my place, and we just sat and talked. And like it was like I was talking to someone I've known for so long, and real fast. And one of the realest things about it was this: we really connected on this point, which was when you started doing art back home, because you couldn't, you know, and where you were from, you said you didn't really start putting on paper and on canvases until you're 25. Part of that was because, you know, you were an athlete, you were playing basketball, and it wasn't as accepted to change and go to art. People wanted you to be the athlete, but in your heart you wanted to do this, so you were kind of working this line to ease into that acceptance. I just wanted you to kind of touch on, you know, breaking beyond that, and because I feel like that's really important. That was really something that I really connected with you on.
No doubt, bro. Just essentially not being afraid. Yep, basketball had been my first love growing up, but high school, leg injury, you know, fractured my leg, which most people thought was a sprain, and it made me so upset because people thought, the coaches like, oh, you milking that ankle.
Yeah, you're
Have
soft.
you seen my leg? But yeah, it never healed properly at that point. So like, I just started to lose so much like encouragement, you know, within myself and confidence. So once I started to realize all these other things like music and art that I was just naturally connected to my entire life, I was afraid in the beginning, of course, but you know, I just knew I didn't just want the average life that I'd seen around me in my neighborhoods. Just have your average 9-to-5 job, and to some people, you know, that's their passion, 9-to-5 jobs. Do what you got to do, right? But I just knew I wanted to serve people in some kind of entertainment or creative way. And so moving into music, actually, before the art, was the next big thing for me. And when I told my parents I wanted to move back to New York for college and to produce, you know, it was a little like, okay, we'll fill it out. But at that time, my aunt and my uncle, you know, brought me in. And my uncle at the time was also vice president of Young Money, Lil Wayne's label. And so he really took me under his arm and was like, look, whatever you want to do, nephew, I got you as long as it's positive. and that's one thing I always, you know, respected about them when they took
Mac
me.
Man?
Yeah.
Is it Mac Man?
No.
I'm about to say, you kind of resemble Mac Man a little bit. No. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, that's your uncle. I see it.
I never got that one before.
Mac Man.
Nah.
I got like a similar thing, and like you said, it was fear. Like I played basketball as well growing up. That was my first love. And when I got the opportunity, you know, to go and do NASCAR, I was definitely hesitant because typically where I'm from, that's not quote unquote accepted. You know what I mean? And even when I got into it, the fear and people not knowing what it was, like I still feel like I'm trying to tell that story to the viewers and the people that come from where I'm from, that it's okay to step outside of that box. You know what I mean? There's so many things we can do in life, be an artist, be a mechanic, be an engineer, and I'm just trying to show the way that there's more options than what the typical neighborhood tells us that we have to be.
Yeah. How did you feel first moving into that world of NASCAR? Like, yeah, you have people back home not understanding why you want to make this transition. You have thoughts in your head about what the family might think or friends, but you also had to worry about the flip side of how people would perceive you once you get into that world. So how did that feel for you, though?
I felt like I had a job to do. 10 years when I got in it, you know, there weren't a lot of people that looked like me. And I'm one just like you. I like to get out of my comfort zone. The minute I start feeling comfortable, it's like a weird, slimy feeling for me. I gotta find a way to get like uncomfortable. And getting in the NASCAR was that opportunity. So the job was to have an impact on the sport, try to make some history in the sport, because I knew there were things that haven't been done yet for people that look like me. And just like you, I manifested it. I talked about it. I actually said to myself, I want to be the Jackie Robinson of NASCAR. Whatever that meant 10 years ago, I had no idea what that was, to be honest. Yeah. But and some of it came true. I made history being the first African-American to win the Daytona 500, so that was cool. But just
Man,
trying
bragging down there.
What's that?
He's bragging down there.
I won the 500.
You said, you know.
And I told him, I'm like, hey, you might be the first African-American to have won the Daytona 500 as a pit crew member.
Crazy.
I got a question about that. Did y'all get tattoos?
We sure did.
We might have to say that for another episode.
We got some good videos of that.
Hey, don't ask, don't tell, man. Listen, man, everything ain't for everybody now. But yeah, man, just getting uncomfortable, man, and just believing in myself and still going.
Paul, I feel like you got something like that too.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like.
Well, for me, I mean, I definitely didn't come from, you know, a place where, you know, it might not be accepted to jump into NASCAR out of football. I mean, for me, growing up, football was everything. It was my passion. It was everybody knew me as a football player. Went to college, played football, and, you know, like every kid, every college athlete, they want to go pro, and it didn't work out. And, you know, I was kind of lost, had a little bit of an identity crisis, and, you know, because we've talked about before, you don't want to put your identity into what you're doing, but it just kind of naturally happens. And you get kind of stuck in that way of thinking, so when it's over, it's like, man, where do I go from here? And you got to pivot pretty quick because, you know, you got bills to pay, you got stuff to do. And, you know, for me, it was coming down here, being a strength coach, and I liked it. It was fun. It was a passion of mine, but I quickly realized, like, man, this isn't for me. And, you know, I got to find something else that satisfies that competitor in me and satisfies that still being an athlete and everything. So finding NASCAR, hearing about being on a pit crew, it all kind of sounded like, man, this could be exactly what I'm looking for. And when I got into that, like, there was definitely some blowback, a little bit of like, are you sure that's what you want to do? Like, you know, that, like you were kind of saying, like, with the art and stuff, like, well, yeah, you know, that's great, but, you know, is it going to pay the bills? Because
it's unfamiliar for someone else.
Yes, exactly. Because a lot of my family, nobody was really a NASCAR fan. My community, people knew about NASCAR, and, like, there were some people who liked it, but, you know, they were kind of, and I told them, like, I'm going to get into this. I'm not going to make any money off the rip. Like, I got to kind of work my way up like I did in football all my life. But I knew, like, the person I am, I could work my way up and get to that top level of where I wanted to be at. But again, like, it was definitely like, well, you know, you could stay as a strength coach. You know you're going to be making some money, work your way up. You're familiar with these people and what this job is. And it's like getting uncomfortable, like Darrell was saying, you know, you got to get comfortable being uncomfortable and finding those challenges, finding that place where you're going to challenge yourself, and it's all worked out since. So,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
My dog.
Yeah, my dad, he was a NASCAR fan, and when I first told him like, yeah, I'm gonna go do this NASCAR thing, I was like, you think I should go back to school or do NASCAR? He was like, I think you should go back to school.
I thought for sure you were about to say NASCAR. I thought you were leading to that way. You got me.
Dad's a big fan.
That's awesome. Yeah, but because I feel like the safe thing to do as a parent, you want to tell your son to do the same thing, which in his mind, that would be go to school, because that's more of a, I'm not going to say a guaranteed route, but that would be like from his knowledge, he's like, yeah, that sounds like a better opportunity. But I'm like, no, I don't think I'm going to do NASCAR. And yeah, that was the whole thing where it was like, he didn't even accept that I was like not going to do school or not gonna do football anymore. And I think just like when we were talking about imagination, like I always had a big imagination since I was a kid, and that's why I thought I could make it out of Buffalo, because my imagination was so big. I'm like, it can't just be this that I'm surrounded by. It has to be more than this. And I feel like that's what always made me want to like keep pushing the limits, keep expanding myself, because I'm like, I don't want to stay here for my whole life, which most of the people from Buffalo, they just stay there, they don't move. So it's like, I'm like, this can't be my life, this can't be what I'm looking forward to when I'm 30 years old to still be in Buffalo. So I like, when the NASCAR opportunity came, I said, I gotta go do that. And I believed in myself that I don't know nothing about NASCAR, I know nothing about pit stops or anything, but I'm like, I believed in myself that I'm gonna figure it out. So once I got and saw people like Darrell doing it, people like that looked like me doing what they were doing and being successful, I said, I'm gonna do it. And that's what I had to tell myself before I actually started making it happen. Is that it's gonna be successful.
On the flip side
You're a
of
lot
that,
taller than Darrell.
I am, but it was a lot of tall jackmen at that time though. It was a lot of 6'5", 6'4" jackmen.
Hicks, on the flip side of that, you did motocross, and you could probably say that you were going to end up in some kind of motorsport. On the flip side, I would ask you, what if you didn't get into NASCAR? Like, what does that acceptance look like, or what would be another route that you would have taken? You know what I mean?
You know, it's funny because he said something about, you know, he wanted to do so. He knew he was bigger than where he was at, and I was thinking about it, and you know, I tell my wife all the time, I'm like, I don't know if I'm doing what I was meant to be doing. And I'm 38 years old. Like, I don't know, I don't feel like what I was meant to do on this earth, I've done yet. And I tell my wife that all the time. And I know that's crazy to say.
It's in there.
No, that's cool though.
But like,
love that.
I don't know if I'm actually doing it. Now, I love what I do. Don't get me wrong. You know, I get to hang out with all these guys. It's a blast. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't know if I'm truly, I've never had any pushback because obviously, like I said, my family, I've been around racing all my life. And there's been some family drama that goes down that kind of pushed me that direction. But yeah, I mean, I enjoy what I do, but I don't know if I'm doing what I was meant to be doing.
I'm excited for you for that because you can be doing what you're doing right now, and then that thing that it might not pay anything. It might just be something on the side, like you don't know.
100%.
The fact that you know that it's not this yet, and you still have some more to go, bro. That's fire.
And that's the beauty of life, right? Like, we go through life and we try to figure out our purpose throughout it. And the fact that you haven't found it yet, and probably none of us has like truly found it, or if we found it, we haven't mastered it, right? And that's the beauty of life. And that's cool to hear though, Hicks, for sure.
Well, it's a testament to everybody sitting here right now. Like, society puts societal norms on how life's supposed to be. You know, you turn this age, you're supposed to hit this benchmark. You hit this age, you're supposed to be here, doing this, doing that, going to college, having a 9-to-5, and the imagination of everybody, and knowing that, hey, I want more out of this thing called life. And it's cool to see, and it's cool to hear your story and how much of an imagination and creativity you have going on in your life.
I appreciate it, man. Like, once we all realize, man, we live whatever, you know, different people believe in. Once we realize physically we live this lifetime once, why live it for other people? You know, like, I believe in, like,
I want to drop my jack on you now. That's right up
I believe in like an ongoing cipher in life where even when like I'm physically gone, I want the legacy and who I am to continue to pass on through other people. You know, so into the core of who I am now, so that, you know, when the leaves fall off and all of that, like, that plant can continue to produce to other people. You know, and that started to free up my mind even more creatively and just spiritually too, and emotionally as well. I live this thing once, do it the way I want to do it, you know.
I love that, man. Well, Frankie, man, thank you for stopping by for a great conversation with the fellas, man. This is what we do on Drop the Jack. We have genuine conversations each and every episode, every time. Glad you were able to get vulnerable, you know, let your hair back, and hopefully this is like a lot of weight off you, you know, explaining it, so on and so forth.
Well, man ain't got no hair. Tell him I let you
I was about to say,
man ain't got no hair.
I thought of that immediately.
Hey, the people ain't know that. Put your hat back on. Put your hat back on. The people ain't know that.
I was
Let
like,
your hair down, bud. I ain't got none.
I was hoping for somebody to start laughing. Then you couldn't hold
I've
it
been
together.
there. Trust me. Don't worry. I'll tell you about it later after the show. But yeah, man. Thank you guys for joining Drop the Jack. As you see, we had plenty of laughs, a lot of good conversations. So tune in. Check it out on YouTube, NASCAR.com, and all podcast platforms. Thank you guys. Cheers to that one.
Let it all work out.